Hello and welcome to the OnStage Colorado Podcast. I'm Alex Millett here with arts reporter Toni Tresca. Hey, Toni.
Hello, Alex. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, we're recording this on Monday morning, August 5th. I don't know if we'll do this all the time, but it seemed like if we can do it on Monday mornings, it makes sense since we would have already seen everything that we were going to see. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it allows us to do a little bit of a hot takes right off the old dome after a weekend of theater.
That's right. Yeah, and since I'm still not working a regular job, if I do get a regular job, we might have to change back. But well, as usual, we're going to look at the shows that we've seen, shows we're going to see, shows we think maybe you should see or maybe not see. And later on in the conversation, I have a conversation with Brad Moore and Brian Dowling, who are from with the Colorado Community Theater Coalition. Their festival is coming up this weekend, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, more on that soon. But that'll be our interview a little bit later. So, Toni, you and I were both out at two different shows this past week or so. We saw Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Give 5 production at the Arch in Rhino. Was that Thursday night?
Yeah, that was Thursday night, August 1st, which was its opening night.
Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. I think we were both a little mystified by some elements of the show, but it was really well done. It's a really cool space. The vibe was really fun. There was kind of like a little drag pre-show, which was a ton of fun, and yeah, really kind of a sort of party atmosphere, I would say.
Yeah, party atmosphere is definitely right. And when I was just kind of leaning into that and vibing in the moment, I was having a lot of fun. But as we were talking afterwards, I realized a lot of the story had gone right over my head. So I went on the Wikipedia page afterwards and I was reading up a little bit about it, and and I was like, I caught some of those other elements that I did not get on the first viewing. So definitely I wish I maybe had gone back and watched the movie first or something, or listen to some of the songs beforehand. So if you, dear listeners, are about to head out to Hedwig, that's what I would recommend. Just do that brief cursory of the plot information so that you can really just lean into the moment and you're not trying to catch names and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I was right there with you, literally and figuratively, not quite sure what all was going on, but just kind of enjoying all the moments of the show with some great performances.
Because there are a lot of accents, which are very fun and definitely create that party tone, but occasionally the diction makes it a little bit hard to understand some of those more plotty moments. It's good for the fun parts, where they're just riffing with the crowd. You can always understand that, but some of the musical moments in there where they reveal story information were tricky.
Yep. And then on Friday night, we were both out again. We don't always see shows together, but this weekend was a double header for us. So we saw Gin and Gothic, a Bronte rock tale from the band of Tufts, who they're an immersive theater company that kind of comes around kind of like a band does. Every few years, maybe your band comes to town and that you want to go see it. And so I've seen a couple of their productions and I really enjoy it. And this was it was a lot of fun. What was your take on for your first Bots show?
So truly the only things that I had prep before going in were I had listened to your interview that you had done on the podcast last week with the creators, which was it was really interesting to hear about their process, but they were very coy with actually what the show itself was about on that podcast. So I was like, I truly still didn't have any idea what it was going to be like going in, but it's kind of this really interesting introduction of the Bronte family. I almost said sisters, but as another character quickly points in, it's not just the Bronte sisters. Yep. And they all are kind of introducing themselves, and they're kind of competing to see who is the most interesting Bronte. And as this woman behind me said during the show, she was like, "Oh, it's kind of like Cats," and I was like. You know what? It is kind of like Cats, but with the Brontes, because there's even these musical moments that are mixed in. I know. I was like, normally I think that might be like some people might have been meaning that like not in the best light, but this woman said it. She was like, "This is amazing. I love it. It's like Cats." And I honestly had just a blast. It was so cool to kind of explore the Ellie Caulkins Opera House from a new perspective. And I really did learn a lot. I didn't have a ton of knowledge on who the Bronte family was. I've never read any of their books, so no Wuthering Heights, no Jane Eyre, or anything like that. And so I have seen them referenced in pop culture. I've seen Jane Eyre, the play. But so it was really interesting to learn about the people behind this, the moment that they were situated in, and see it kind of depicted in this incredibly experiential and immersive environment.
Yeah, it was great. There's a musical component. There's acting. There's a tour. You'll get some steps in if you keep track of that kind of thing. Some stairs. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. I thought it was really well done. And like as I said in my review, there's just like it can't be overstated how difficult a challenge this is to pull off a show where you've got like six or seven different locations, and you're moving the audience, the band, and even the bartenders around, and get it all to work. And really, we were there on opening night, which is where you might expect some glitches to appear, and there might have been a thing here or two, but nothing that there's kind of a laid back vibe to it in some ways as well. So you're kind of really ready for anything. And if there's a screw up or two, I think that's sort of part of it. And so hats off to the Band of Toughs for doing another really cool show. I highly recommend getting out to see that if you can.
Indeed. The only criticism I have of the whole thing is we'll probably have to wait like 3 or 4 years for their next production.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I mean, I guess absent makes the heart grow fonder, but I just want to see another production from these guys.
Yeah. They know immersive. They know their stuff. And then I went to Wheat Ridge Theater Company yesterday and saw a Manny for Us, which I have to say was not one of their finest moments. It's a new play, and the script was not the greatest. So I generally Wheat Ridge picks some really interesting material to do, and they usually pull it off. This one was maybe not their finest hour, but so I'll have a review of that. And then what have you been? What else did you get out to this past week?
So a little bit earlier, before you and I caught up for our theater doubleheader on Thursday and Friday night, I was at the Denver Center to catch the touring production of Wicked on Wednesday, July 31st. And I kind of went in, Wicked was the first thing I had ever seen on Broadway. It was my first kind of introduction to theater. And I was like, I wonder now if, like, having seen so many other shows and coming at it from a more critical lens and having chatted with the team, if I'll have a different perspective, maybe not be wowed by the magic of Wicked. But boy, was I wrong. Wicked sure holds up. It's this absolutely universal story that I was just delighted to see reenacted on stage. This tour makes some really interesting changes, so it was even slightly different from the version that I remembered seeing, and I just really had a blast. I could not recommend it enough. I went with another Wicked head who joined me, and we were both just absolutely losing our minds the whole show.
That's great. Well, there's a reason it's on its 7th tour through Denver.
That's right. Yeah, this is its 7th time here, and you've got pretty much the rest of the month to go catch that. So it's here for about 5 weeks, and so plenty of time. There's a lottery going on, so if you want to get cheaper tickets, you are able to do that via Lucky Seat. And so it's a great show. Cannot recommend it enough. Even if whether you've seen it like me before, or if you're like Alex and you've never seen it, I highly recommend. And then I also hit up the Parlando School of the Musical Arts in Boulder's new musical project, in which they introduced, this was on Saturday, August 3rd, and it was in the afternoon over in the Dairy Arts Center, and they were showcasing about 30 minutes of these different new musicals, and it was a really interesting project. This is the 3rd year that they have done it. They had about over 90 different writers apply to be in this showcase, and the 3 works they featured could not have been more different. You had everything from, like, Edward's take on The Great Gatsby to kind of a musical about weaving. And so it was a really cool, interesting project that I was really happy to have gotten to check out over in Boulder.
Wow. Did somebody say a musical about weaving? I went in on that.
Yes, I did. I did say a musical about weaving. It's all about weaving. There's a dramatic shipwreck in it. It's got it all, Alex.
Well, if you're going to have a show about weaving, you definitely should throw in a shipwreck or something like that to spice things up, right?
Absolutely.
And you went to the Ren Fair?
I did. I was there on the closing day of the Colorado Ren Fair, so August 4th. It was the last day of its several month journey. I had never been to the Colorado version of the Ren Fair before, and I learned it's not the biggest in the world. From a lot of the vendors at the festival argue that it's the best, and it's got the most per square inch. So there's just so much to do. There were so many cool costumes there. Everybody from very period accurate armor pieces to people dressed up as the Doctor from Doctor Who and being these time traveling characters who had come back to the past. So so much fun. There were a lot of really cool shows. We caught the whip show with Jacquees, who would whip to various different songs. That was quite fun. There was a knife throwing show. So it was a lot of fun, cool mixture of live performers, merchants, and then always obviously tons of cool food. So
were you roasting your ass off out there, or was it not so bad?
So we started the day a little bit hot, but luckily after about an hour or two, a nice big cloud came overhead and kind of blocked out the sun. As one person joked, he was like, "We must thank the witch who brought this cloud to us, for they have blessed us here on this Ren Fair."
Yeah,
which I thought was quite funny and fitting.
All right, well, that's great. It's been a long time since I've been to the Ren Fair, and I kind of feel like it's maybe once or twice is all you need. But I think I've been to two, as in one in New York a long time ago. But a random bit of news here. So August 1st is the time when a lot of new laws go into effect that Colorado, that the legislature has voted on. So you might see these signs up saying motorcycle filtering is in effect, and wonder what the hell is that? And it's just means motorcycles are allowed to weave through traffic when it's stopped. But more pertinent to us is that they have a new Colorado law on ticket transparency. So this is you buy a concert ticket and it's already $100, and then it's and all of a sudden you go to the checkout and it's and there's a $20 fee for this and a $30 fee for that, and just up yours fee.
We talked about that on the podcast before, and it's so awful. Yeah, such a bummer.
It just doesn't really do anything for the lower the price of tickets, but it does do ticket transparency. So the DCPA set out press release saying that all of their theater shows that are on their site, what you see is what you get. And this is something that everybody's going to have to do. So there's the base ticket cost, all the fees, any city seat tax, things like that are all included. So a little bit of a step in the right direction. Now we need to work on getting them down to where the average person doesn't have to take a home equity loan to go see a show.
Yeah, that'd probably be good.
Yeah.
But transparency is a step in the right direction. So we've got a quick little message in our mailbag. We received one note from a listener, Kevin Douglas, over at 2 Cent Lion Theater Company and recent Henry Award winner, who said in reference to our episode last week in which we discussed the Henry Awards, he said, "Thanks for shouting out my green suit on the pod." And to that, Kevin, we say, thank you for wearing that beautiful green Parisian suit to the Henrys. It was absolutely beautiful. Gave us something to look at and talk about.
That's right. And Kevin is also a very tall man. So he really, in this really cool green suit, he definitely stood out.
Absolutely. And folks, if you do want to get in touch with us, you have a message for the podcast, a suggestion for an upcoming show, something you just want to share about it, please feel free to get in touch with us at info@onstagecolorado.com or reach out to either one of us on social media. And please do let the theater lovers in your life know about the OnStage Colorado podcast so they can join our theater cult.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you. So our main topic today is kind of a fun one. We were kicking around ideas and we were thinking about all of the new theaters that seem to be opening up. So and not just theaters, venues in general. Some of them are theater specific, some are music, some are mixed use, and so we just wanted to kind of go down the list of some of the cool places, as kind of an antidote to some of the bad news that we've talked about of some theaters closing. Here's some that are opening. So one of the ones that I'm really fascinated by is out on the Western Slope. There's not a ton of theater. But Colorado Mesa University does have a theater program, and they are just getting set to open on September 27th, the Asteria Theater at Colorado Mesa University with a production of Amadeus. And so Asteria is Greek for the stars. And this is no small matter. This is a $54 million facility with 840 seats. So really big shot in the arm, for performance in the Grand Junction area. So I'm speaking with the GM for the theater for the podcast. So we'll have an interview with her to let us know a little bit more about it. But it's really exciting for Grand Junction.
That is incredibly exciting. Wow, yeah. I'm glad you're going to be talking with them about that on the podcast. I'm super curious to learn about the construction process, how this kind of got approved, and the vision for this space.
Yeah, for sure.
So the next venue that we wanted to talk about is one that we both recently attended. It's the Arch over in the Rhino Arts District in Denver. So I know that when you put this one on the list, one of the questions that you had asked was just how exactly new is this space? And it's very new. It's just was remodeled and renovated back in 2023 so that it could be utilized there. So it's a very, very new space. It's 1,600 square feet over in that district. It's got 25-foot tall ceilings, a massive bar, lots of load-in space, and versatile seating that you can kind of change up in there. And I know both you and I were kind of wowed by this actual venue itself when we walked in.
Yeah, it's great because it's like this completely anonymous front. It could be like, there could be like weaving classes going on inside. You never know. But you open the door and there's like it's sort of like an enormous black box, and they've got a bar there, and we did the way they had it set up for Hedwig, it was all draped, so we couldn't see like a lot of it, but definitely a big versatile space, and it looked like it had some decent lighting installed. The sound was decent. I think a lot of that was probably Give 5 bringing that stuff in, but anyway, yeah, cool space, and who knows what all is going to go in there. So the next one, we've talked about this a lot, so we'll just touch on it. But you can't talk about new venues in Colorado without talking about the new Miners Alley Performing Arts Center, which opened back in January, and took over. Kind of replaced the old Miners Alley that was upstairs in a kind of a really tight space, and now they have this beautiful, huge new performing arts facility.
It opened in December of 2023.
Yeah, well, December, January, something like that.
First of the year. You're right.
When it was cold out. Yeah, okay, December.
It was very cold.
Yeah. So definitely a great place to go see a show, and a lot more to come with that facility with their upcoming phases that will expand it even more.
Absolutely. The next space is Coco Bongos, which was this was formerly Herman's Hideaway, which was kind of a local music powerhouse, and it's still going to be something in the music space, but now it's going to be a Latino dance club that will be operating there, kind of, as they said, focusing on booking local and national touring bands to kind of come through the space. So I'd never actually been to Herman's Hideaway. My first time was going to be when I went for Hedwig. Had you ever been to the former space?
No, I never. Of all the shows I've seen in the Denver area, never was there. But it's cool. I know a lot of people had, it was there for a long time as Herman's Hideaway, but it's cool that it's going to stay a performance space and not be turned into like a Starbucks or, something like that.
100%.
This next one, you put it on the list. I'm going to let you take this. Two Moons Music Hall, or so you put that on the list. I'm sorry.
I think you had put it on the list. I can take it.
I must have copied and pasted it because it doesn't look familiar. So, but yeah, this is in Rhino. It's another former warehouse that opened in March. And there was it's on Larimer Street, and there was a post from a fellow named Jake Sophos saying that it will fill a hole for local artists looking for regular gigs in a curated atmosphere with things like jazz every Tuesday, indie singer-songwriters every Wednesday, honky tonks on Thursday, etc. So that's Two Moons Music Hall.
I have never actually been over there, but that sounds like a really cool space. I like jazz, so maybe I'll head over there on their Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I don't know if they said that actually is going to be happening or that was an example of what could be happening, but definitely check their website. Another one that I'm going to learn more about because I'm speaking with one of the folks behind this is the historic Elitch Theater, which is definitely not a new venue, but it has been dormant for many, many moons, and it just had its first real show back in. Or has that happened yet, or is that still coming up? It was going to be the Bonfils girl.
That'll actually be coming up. It'll have its first show on August 17th, and then I believe they've added an additional show to that. So double check the website out.
Yeah. Yeah, so looking forward to talking to some folks about that because that's a really interesting project and an exciting one too, to have a piece of history back and another performance space.
Absolutely. It's been here in Colorado since 1891. It has the oldest summer stock theater, hosted the first screening of film here in Colorado. So it's a really historic space, and it's been dormant pretty much for about 30 years, although rumors have kind of swirled around its operations. And those rumors have only intensified in recent years now that it's got a couple performances in there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next space on the list is Su Teatro, which is their main space is familiar to folks over on Santa Fe, but it just recently, in June, purchased the Blue Building next door to it to kind of expand. This is the first of hopefully two purchases that they'll be making in the upcoming years to kind of grow their cultural campus over there in the Santa Fe Arts District. And from talking with the leaders over there, this was a really important step for them to take to kind of combat the onslaught of gentrification that was happening in that neighborhood and really just own that land that they're operating on so that they can continue to grow for the next 50 plus years for them.
Yeah, that's huge for them. Great news for Su Teatro. Another one I don't know a ton about, but it came up on my search was Lot 46 Music Bar. Lot 46 Music Bar. So this is the old Edgewater Inn in Sloan's Lake, which had been there for quite a while. So this is another new music venue, or kind of a continuation of a music venue there in Sloan's Lake.
Mm-hmm. I never been there either, but that sounds like a cool spot.
Yeah.
This is not a new space, but it is new owners in an old space. So The Three Leeches are going to be over in Benchmark Theater's former space in Lakewood, along with Flamboyant Theater and the Lab. So this is a really cool utilization. There's been a couple of theaters who have been in operation over here, most recently, like I said, Benchmark Theater, whom we both loved, and we're really sad to hear that they were going to be vacating the space in June. But it was exciting news that these three theaters are going to be working in partnership to kind of program throughout the year, offer some rentable space, and really hopefully bring art over into that neck of the woods.
Yeah. As we've talked about theaters struggling to afford, the spaces that they're in, this sort of arrangement makes a lot of sense as far as I can tell, where you've got several art organizations sharing the cost and expenses of things, and it's also cool that the facility is staying a theater because it's it is set up to be that. It's got all lights in place, and before Benchmark, I was racking my brain trying to remember the theater that was in there before Benchmark, but it was also another good theater, so there's kind of a history there. On the other end of the spectrum, from a little tiny theater to the Sunset Amphitheater in Colorado Springs. This is a $90 million, 8,000 capacity thing near the Air Force Academy. It's got 92 VIP luxury fire pit suites, which is, that's where I usually like to hang out, in the luxury fire pit suites.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that one is just, this one is brand new. So their first show is Friday, August 9th with One Republic, which is, it's kind of like a boy band of some sort, but I think they sort of started in Colorado. But anyway, so I wrote down Sunset Amphitheater, but they've actually since changed the name to the Ford Amphitheater because they apparently got some sponsorship money from Ford. So not to be confused with the Gerald Ford Amphitheater, which is named after the former president. This one is the Ford Motor Company. So the Gerald Ford Amphitheater is up in Vail. And so this one is going to be a new big new music venue roughly about the size of Red Rocks. And I don't know if it's indoor or outdoor. I'm guessing it's an indoor facility, but that one's definitely one that I think the Springs could use because they didn't really have a great big music hall there.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Looking forward to attending a show over there.
Maybe not One Republic, but we'll see what else comes up.
Yeah, that one does not call to me, but maybe something else. So another new-ish space is the Spark, which is in Boulder. This was founded in 2019 by locals Dylan Kenyon and Marlon Schutz. It's they wanted to be an affordable space for artists, kind of an alternative to the Dairy Center, which they noted was kind of always full. So they ended up converting this kind of massive warehouse space that didn't have any walls or bathrooms when they first took over. So it was just one big room. So they ended up having to transition the space into a functional arts venue, complete with now 2 dance studios and a flexible 100-seat theater space. It's all rentable, and they work with about 20 to 50 organizations in a season. So a lot of different organizations that are tapping into that new space over in Boulder. So very exciting. And I toured it over there. There's a very vibrant energy. Pretty much when I walked in, there was always people kind of coming in and out of the door and utilizing the space. So it was a really cool.
All right. So worthy of the name, the Spark, with all energy going on there. It's a great name for
Indeed.
Well, I think you added these next two, so I'll let you go ahead and take these.
Yeah, so the Holiday Theater, this is a spot in Denver. It had been kind of up in the air about like not really knowing what people were going to do with it because it had been acquired by the Denver Cultural Property Trust. But in 2021, the MCA, the museum, ended up renting the space for $5.1 million for 7 years to kind of try to actualize the space, see if the community is interested in it. And since then, they've been hosting a lot of kind of one-off events there, really renting to people who are coming in to showcase movies, do talks, poetry stuff. I've seen a couple of plays there. Control Group Production rented it. So they've really been kind of trying to experiment with it. It's a bit of a bigger space. It's got about 400 seats over there. So a little bit on the bigger side for organizations, but it's a really lovely and newly renovated space in that neighborhood.
Cool.
And then this one is a space on the way. Cleo Parker Robinson, a dance group, is working on a 25,000 square foot 3-level expansion that it's going to cost about $20 million. That's going to be finishing up in October 2025-ish. That's going to include a theater space there. So that's not yet open, but it's coming soon, and very exciting for groups who are looking for a new home or looking for a space to rent.
Now, this is separate from their existing facility or in addition to?
It's in addition to, so it's an expansion.
Okay. Cool, because it's a cool building that they've got now. So that's cool that they're doing even more with it. A couple of just things. So I think that was the end of our list. If you know of any others, I'm sure there's a couple of others maybe that we missed. Shoot us an email. But there was also a Denver Gazette story that I thought was kind of related, where they're talking about Aurora. The city of Aurora did a study into them potentially creating a new venue, and they found that 70% of residents in Aurora leave the city for entertainment. So that does kind of say, wow, there's definitely room for a city as big as Aurora to have more. Of course they have the Fox, the Vintage, the People's Building, but those don't represent a whole ton of seats, I guess, compared to, say, the Colorado Springs Ford Theater with 8,000 seats. So, and then you mentioned another one that was in the Denver Post.
Yeah, so I thought this was interesting, and this has kind of come up in conversations that I've been having with artistic leaders. The Post ran a story that noted about 32% of office spaces, and this is in downtown Denver alone, are just sitting vacant at the moment. So these are just empty spaces in prime real estate that are just not actualized at all anymore. And surely some like smart entertainment programming can do more than these just zombie buildings that are just there taking up space. So those are potential options. Those do come with some with conversion costs and additional, like obviously rent expenses. But it seems like this is the highest they've been in decades. So it seems like the city of Denver might want to get on utilizing these spaces. And
yeah, and we have a lot of immersive, very creative theater companies around here who would probably take a look at that and say, it's fine as it is. We're going to do a play here about an office. It's a story about an office, dysfunctional office or something like that. We'll use these offices in here and the break room and all that stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, I think it's definitely beholden on people who are holding real estate that's sitting empty to think about something to do with it that can, if not generate a whole lot of income, at least do something towards the greater good. Right?
We can only hope.
That's right. All right. Well, that's it for our venue wrap up. New venues, exciting stuff. But we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll discuss our top 10 for the coming week with our Colorado headliners. And we'll meet with the folks from the Colorado Community Theater Coalition. So stick around. We'll be right back. OnStage Colorado is supported by the Aurora Fox Arts Center, celebrating its 40th anniversary September 7th with a season announcement celebration from 6 to 9 p.m. at the theater. Tickets are only $10 and can be purchased at aurorafoxartscenter.org. Support also comes from the Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, whose upcoming season kicks off September 26th with Henry Ibsen's Enemy of the People, adapted by Mark Reagan. The show runs through October 13th at the Denver Savoy, and then again November 8th through 17th at the Dairy Center in Boulder. Tickets at betc.org. OnStage Colorado is sponsored by the Colorado Fine Arts Center at Colorado College. Tickets for their upcoming season are on sale now and include Dial M for Murder, The City Dog and the Prairie Dog, In Her Bones, and The Naked Mole Rat Gets Dressed. More at fac.colorado.college.edu. And support also comes from Give 5 Productions, whose production of Hedwig and the Angry Inch runs through August 17th at the Arch in Denver's Rhino District. Get tickets at hedwigdenver.com. All right, we're back here. I'm Alex Miller with Toni Tresca to do our Colorado headliners, like our top 10 or so shows that we're excited about seeing, or sometimes they're like festivals or things like that. So here they are in no particular order. I stress that because somebody who happened to be in one of the top spots said, we're number one. It's like, well, no, I guess we could do them alphabetically. But anyway, my first headliner is the one I just referenced. So the Colorado Community Theater Festival will be in Evergreen this weekend, August 9th through 11th. If you haven't been, it's a really interesting thing because on Saturday, there are competition pieces. So we've talked about this before, but it's not something that often people get to see. It's, you have 10 minutes, theater company has 10 minutes to set up in a 10-foot by 10-foot square, and 10 minutes to strike. And then there's, they get a response from these judges they call adjudicators. So they'll, you can learn all about it when you stick around for our interview with the CCTC guys. But we're going to be there on Sunday also, you and I, to talk about theater marketing. So the theaters that are going to be there are Funky, Evergreen Players, Flat Valley Players, and the Soapers Theater Company from CMC. So that's coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll be chatting a little bit about theater marketing with folks on a panel there. So on Sunday, so that should be a fun experience. Looking forward to chatting with the community. My first headliner is Empire of Solitude. This is an experimental drama based on the poetry of Julia de Burgos that chronicles her mental state in the last week of her life. This is the first play from Flamboyant Theater, who will soon be moving into a new space that we just talked about in our previous section. But for now, they'll be over at Buntport Theater from August 9th through the 18th. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I'll be there on opening night, August 9th. So I'll report back.
Cool. And this is a Puerto Rican theater too, which is cool.
That's right.
In the West, you mostly hear about more, folks from Mexico and Central America representing for Latin America. But this one's Puerto Rico folks, which tend to be, a lot of those folks tend to be more on the East Coast. So it's cool that we've got some of that group here in Colorado. The next one I was going to mention is one that we're going to be going to next weekend at the Bailey Theater. So this one's Dear Jack, Dear Louise, which is a Ken Ludwig play that I've been curious to see. It's different from his usual farces. It's a sort of a love letter to his parents who had this great love story during World War II. And so we're looking forward to seeing that August 9th through 18th. We'll be up there right after the CCT festival. And I will, if you are going up there, don't do what I did last time and just put the Bailey Theater into Google Maps, because it sent me to some really weird part of Bailey. And it took me so long to figure out what went wrong. And it was one of those areas where there was no cell reception. So I couldn't even figure out what's up. By the time I got down to where I could actually find out where the theater actually was, it was already 20 minutes past curtain. So I had to tuck my tail between my legs and drive on without seeing the show.
No.
So I'm really hoping. So the Bailey Theater actually performs at a place called Glen Isle Resort. So just make sure you think about that before you go.
We'll be sure to plug that in on our drive this time. So my second headliner is the 9th annual African Impact Community Cultural Celebration and Concert that was being held at the Arvada Center. So this is a free event. It starts out on the front plaza from 3 to 5:30 p.m. There'll be food trucks, artists, poets, jewelry, clothing vendors, and more there. So show up whenever you'd like. And then if you're interested, there is a ticketed concert by Baba Mal, who is this renowned global performer in the outdoor amphitheater with special guests, including the Ethiopian Youth Dancers of Colorado. So that event is being held on August 10th. And Philip Sneed, who is one of the leaders over there, says that this is one of his favorite events that the Arvada Center does yearly.
Cool. All right. The next one I was going to mention was a group that we've talked about before a little bit, but I thought I would just bring it up again because they're new, and I think it sounds like a fun place to check out. It's called the What If Theater in Lakewood. This is an improv comedy group. They're kind of on the news side. They have something coming up this weekend called Improv AF, which you can interpret either as and fun or something else. So you can, but they have lots of different shows going on. So you can check it out on What If Theater with an RE.com.
Cool. So for all you film fans out there, you can check out the results of this year's 48-hour film project, which assembled around 30-ish Denver Films teams together who all had the same character, which was Karen or Ken Spastowick, who is the HOA president, the same line, "You sure about that?" and the same prop, a painting, and then had 48 hours to write, direct, shoot, and edit all the films. So it took place already Friday, July 26th through the morning of Sunday, July 28th. They got all the films in, and now screenings of them will occur on August 11th. And then a best of screening of the films will occur on August 23rd over at the Bug Theater.
Okay. That sounds great too. I was going to mention also Family. This is our disability affirmative theater, one of the preeminent theaters of its kind in the United States, if not the world. So they are doing a chorus line, and this will be in the Denver Center's beautiful Killstrom Theater, August 8th through 25th. So I think their artistic director Ben Rainen is directing this, and our reviewer Eric will be at that. So looking forward to see what he has to say about that. That sounds like a real challenge, a challenging show for a family to do. So I'm curious to see how they pull it off.
Yeah, I'm writing a piece about that and attending the opening night on the 10th. They've brought in 6 different choreographers to work with their team.
Wow.
And it's a real feat over there. And I mean, they're doing a chorus line in the round, which Ben joked with me. He was like, "That's enough of a challenge right there." But he was like, he was excited to find out that it worked and he could actually work in that space. So excited to share that piece with you guys and checking out the show later this week. So my fourth headliner is a comedy show called Catfish Comedy that's taking place at Comedy Works downtown. This is an improvised stand-up comedy show hosted by Georgia Comstock, who is a very, very funny comic who's been in Denver for a number of years. And she has kind of created this show in which comedians will take your suggestions to kind of create a stand-up set on the spot. So each show is totally different. She's got everybody from local folks to very big national names who happen to be doing a one-off show in the area. So this will be taking place August 11th at Comedy Works downtown.
All right. Cool. Always fun to get out to Comedy Works. My last headliner is After the End. This is another show from the Catamounts. This runs August 10th through September 4th at Anything Huron, which is sort of an old library space in Thornton that I've never been to. So curious to go up to see that. Cool thing about this one is it's an absolutely free show. They have sponsors that have made it possible so that anybody, of course, you have to make, go on the Catamount's website and make reservations, but no charge. And the premise is what happens to fictional characters after the story ends. So I think there's a little bit of kind of a treasure hunt of some sort where I think you're going to be moving around a little bit inside that space. And Catamounts always do cool stuff. So definitely check that one out.
Absolutely. I'll be there on their opening on the 10th as well. So that's a 2-show day for me. I've got Families Curious in the Families a Chorus Line in the evening, and I'll be checking out After the End earlier that morning.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll be there for that matinee as well. So maybe I'll probably see you there.
Oh my gosh, Alex, we've got another theater doubleheader this weekend.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. All
so
right.
My final headliner for this week is The Sen. This is a play set in San Francisco on the eve of the 1989 earthquake. It's a contemporary morality play that features a helicopter traffic reporter who strives to keep herself above life's chaos, but when her brother dies, it makes her realize that pride is the deadliest of all sins. This play is being produced by the Boulder-based nomadic company Blunt Force Drama, which recently staged Ruin at the Dairy last year, and they'll be back at the Dairy Center this year for the run of this play, August 15th through the 18th. And in addition to being an interesting show that doesn't get produced a ton over there, it's also a fundraiser for the Boulder County AIDS Project. So
great.
Check that one out at the Dairy Arts Center.
All right. Well, those are the Colorado headliners for the week. That sounds like a really great roundup of shows and things going on. So never a dull moment here on stage in Colorado.
Indeed. Thank you guys to all the theater artists for keeping us busy.
That's right. All right. Well, hang on. I'm going to have my interview with Brad Moore and Brian Dowling from the Colorado Community Theater Coalition here. So stick around and we'll see you on the other side. All right. Well, we are here with Brad Moore and Brian Dowling. Thanks for being on the podcast today to talk about the Colorado Community Theater Coalition, or CCTC.
Well, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So Brad is the vice president of CCTC, and Brian, you are the festival chair this year. So the festival is going to be August 10th and 11th up in Evergreen. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, I wanted to ask you guys to talk a little bit about what CCTC is and how it relates to the AACT, which is the American Association of Community Theaters, and kind of what the organizations do, and then the festivals and the competition. Like how does that all work? So maybe Brad, if I know you've been with CCTC for quite a number of years, so can you tell me a little bit about the organization in general?
Yeah. Well, the real history way back is that there was a huge organization called the American Theater Association that had it was an umbrella organization for just every type of theater known on the planet. There were high school theaters and army theater and community theater, and it was everything. And in the mid to late 80s, it just all of a sudden just imploded. It just went away. And so a lot of different organizations pulled together to try and kind of come back around. And that's really where AACT, or the American Association of Community Theater, came from, was, sort of rising up out of that. In Colorado, we had been doing a festival called the Fact Fest. And so it was the Festival of American Community Theaters. And so then that kind of suffered the same fate. And then a lot of states started putting together their own organizations and festivals. And so there were, I was involved with the very beginnings of that, although I had just moved to Long Beach, California, and was working for a big theater company out there. But a group of people got together and put together the Colorado Community Theater Coalition to sort of be a representation of community theaters throughout the state of Colorado, and to try and keep that organization going, and the possibility of doing some festivals and things like that. So that's really that's kind of where that started. That whole organization, the CCTC, started in 1988 and came together again just as an opportunity to sort of organize and represent the community theaters within the state of Colorado.
So in addition to advocating for community theater, there's also these festivals which have kind of ebbed and flowed over the years in terms of how big they've been. As you know, I was involved back in the 90s when Bob and Wendy Moore were at the Backstage Theater and were super into CCTC, and I think I was in 5 or 6 festivals. And so can you explain a little bit about how the competition works? I think the idea of theater competition is a little weird to, or just alien to people who haven't seen it, but it's really neat, and it's a really different way to experience theater. So can you just kind of lay out how that works?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because that's how I met Bob and Wendy, was that we were all on the board together at the same time. Wendy and I joined the board at the same time, and such a wonderful group of friends that formed the organization. The idea is, it really is more of a celebration of theater, and it's a chance to showcase your work. And what happens with the awards, and yes, of course, with any kind of competition or awards, there's always some weird angst about it. It just happens, And, of course, theater people are competitive by nature.
Right.
But what it does is it gives us a chance as a theater to to really get some recognition and to have some awards to hang on the wall and show some of the work that we've done. But it's more about the celebration of coming together and sharing work. By meeting people like Bob and Wendy Moore, we all began to work together. And, so Wendy most recently was on the board of Aspen Stage, which is a theater company that I started in the 80s. And, we've worked together on many shows. She's directed around the state. Bob has done shows all over. It's a really wonderful networking and a chance for us all to just work together and to celebrate our craft and the fact that we do, what some people say, well, what exactly is community theater? And is it amateur theater? Well, in the truest sense of the word, it is amateur theater, because amateur, if you really look up that term, is about people who are pursuing a passion. And it's not something that maybe they are making a living doing, but they're fully invested in their creative spirits and their creative craft and art. So it's a chance for us to all get together. So the idea behind the competition, the festival itself is not just the competition. That becomes sort of the flagship, I guess, of the festival. But it's about the opportunity to bring in a production, but it also is a chance for us to attend and present workshops, to get involved with panel discussions, things like that. And something that we're very proud of in Colorado is that we have something that we call wet working, which is sort of networking, but it sort of found itself in the hotel bars, the host hotel. After hours, we'd all get together and just sit in the bar and talk. And that became the best time for everybody to get together and to network and to just play ideas and learn to understand what it is that we do and how we can work together with other companies and other artists throughout the state. So that has become a real feature of the festivals and something that actually is now been sort of duplicated in a sense at the national level. The competition is really, it's just a way of us being able to, on a very level playing field, present our shows. And so the rules are that everything that we have coming with us needs to fit in a 10 by 10 square that's marked off either in the wings or on stage. And then we have 10 minutes to go from that 10 by 10 box or square and to set up our set and everything so that We then are ready to go, and then we have 60 minutes, up to 60 minutes to perform our piece, and then we have 10 minutes to go back to the 10 by 10 square, and then we're adjudicated by people who are really amazing at giving us an understanding of what they saw and how that relates to what we're trying to do, and give us some feedback that is both helpful and growth oriented, and making sure that we understand, or that we as a company understand what they saw. And then every other year, and this year is a cycle year, then the winner from the state level would go on to regionals, and then ultimately on to nationals.
Right. Yeah, and there's the adjudicators are typically they're theater professors or theater professionals of some sort who give, I think they call it a response. So the cast and crew will come out and sit in the audience, and the adjudicators get up on stage. There might be two, sometimes three of them. I think usually two, and they would kind of just tell you what you did right, what you did wrong, or how it might have been improved, things like that, and then from there later in the festival, there's typical awards like best show, best actor, best actress, things like that. Is that how it works?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, we typically have two adjudicators at the state level. This year we have Paul Newman. Everybody calls him Doc. He was a professor at Adams State in Alamosa for many years, and he's done a lot of our festivals for us. He's really wonderful, very very supportive, and yet very clear-headed, and lets us know how what he saw and how it affected him, and it helps us to understand how to take that forward. The other adjudicator this year is his name is Michael Fox. He's the chief operating officer at the Hale Center Theater in Sandy, Utah, and he's also on the board of AACT. Anyway, so he's a longtime theater professional as well, and so getting a little bit of feedback from someone who is actually an educator and someone who is a theater professional in that sense has been really helpful in the past, and we look forward to having both of these really wonderful gentlemen help us see what we've done and give us feedback on that. Yeah,
that's great. And so Brian is the festival chair, and Brian, are you on a waterbed or something? You're just like bouncing all over the place.
Oh no, I apologize. I'm on my phone right now. Other than
okay,
yeah, the only laptop I have is my work laptop, and security, they don't really allow for us to use it for outside stuff.
Great. Well, as the festival chair, can you tell me a little bit about what's gone on with the Colorado Festival over the past few years? I know that was sort of, the pandemic screwed it up for a while, like it did everybody. And last year there was a sort of a non-cycle year, a smaller festival that was held over the John Hand Theater. What's going on with the festival this year?
So this year, yes, it's we are the first one to be doing it for this year, so they're keeping an eye on us to see how things go and whatnot. So it's kind of fun to be the first ones out of the gate. We do have 4 different houses coming with us. We've got the Evergreen Players, got Funky Little Theater Company that they're driving up from the Springs. We have Sopris Theater Company. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
You guys coming from Glenwood, and then from Brighton we got Platte Valley. So that's really exciting to see all the diversity and the different projects that they'll be bringing in. We're bringing back all of the workshops that you're going to get to experience throughout the days. We've got Emily Ellett, who is going to be performing her one-woman cabaret of My Fair Lady. We're hopeful to add a few things. We're hopeful that the Evergreen Players, that their improv group ethic is going to be able to perform for us as well Friday night. So it's been a lot of work and coordination to get all of those different things put together. It's been great though. All the collaboration, such a such a good team, a positive group of people, and everybody's so excited to get the festival up going and bringing the community together, which is what essentially this is all about.
Right. And is it all taking place at the Center Stage Theater up there in Evergreen?
So it's at a couple of different locations up there. We will be at Center Stage, of course, and then we'll be utilizing their Black Box Theater along with a nearby church. So everything is within, you could technically say it's walking distance, but it's not generally recommended because of all the hills and whatnot of the mountains. But all the locations are within minutes of each other. So it's a nice little circuit area.
Great. Well, I also wanted to ask, and maybe Brad, you can address this: is why should theaters? So theaters are pretty stretched. It's hard to keep to mount shows and all that. And so if they're going to do a TC show, they've got to mount either a new production that's or maybe a cutting, because you've only got an hour. So usually they're either one acts or a cutting of a full length play. And that's a lot of work. And I know from experience that, in addition to the, your usual shows, doing this is a challenge. So what is the inspiration for theaters to do this?
Well, I think for me, it's always been the opportunity to grow as a company. The adjudications that we've had have really just helped us to explore and expand our craft. It really has been an opportunity to have other people from outside of our region just chat with us and let us know how we're doing and how we can build on our existing strengths to be even stronger. Again, it's also it's nice to be able to have the recognition, when people come see our shows, and out in the lobby are some trophies and plaques and
absolutely
things like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
And also, for us, I mean, we took a show to the Nationals in 2019. We took Char White's The Other Place to Nationals, and for a little tiny company that, we're real shoestring, but for us to then be on stage with 11 other companies from around the U.S. and from the military bases in Europe, and to have us win awards and stand tall and proud with these big companies. Some of them have multi-million-dollar budgets and things like that. It's kind of like the Sandlot kids in some ways, just here we are. But being able to have that experience and to attend those workshops and see other shows. I mean, there's so much learning that we can do by watching other people and meeting other people. That to me is exactly the inspiration. It's a chance to learn and grow.
Yeah. And it's really neat. A lot of times if you're in a small theater, or really any theater, you kind of get, and especially if you're in maybe one of the more remote towns in Colorado, you maybe not get out and see a lot of other theater companies. So it's a good chance to see, what similar type theater companies are doing, and maybe get some ideas, maybe think, hey, I want to do that show. So all those sorts of things. So Brian, for this festival, what are some of the, in addition to the competition section, there's some workshops. What are some of those this year?
So we have Roberta Hamilton-Grigg. She's doing a workshop on directing. Emily Ellett is going to be doing also another roundtable about performing arts career without a day job. So I think that'll be kind of a fun, interesting thing people can chat about. We have a intimacy coordinator. They're doing an interactive workshop for Saturday. That's Amelia Morse will be heading that up, so that'll be great. Bernie Cardell, well known in the community, is going to be having a discussion about planning a season, talking about taking risks for those, making sure you have opportunities for different voices. And I hear somebody else close to this conversation, you, Alex, and Toni Tresca, going to have a little discussion. So that we're looking forward to really thankful so much that both of you are willing and wanting to help out the festival and be present for that discussion, for that panel.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think we're going to do something about theater marketing, and I actually had I did this workshop last year at the sort of the mini festival, and I think it was really the people that were there. It wasn't there were only a handful of people there, but I think it was all the people there seemed to really appreciate it because they don't often hear information about marketing and public relations that's specific to theater, and also specific to like how can I do this stuff without spending a lot of money, or even better, no money. Just the time and effort and all the tools and things that are out there that you can use to get the word out. So yeah, Toni Tresca, who's my partner here on the podcast, and I think we were looking to maybe get another theater PR person, so the TBD on that. But I think it sounds like it'll be a fun time up there in Evergreen. And can you tell us a little bit about
for registration, you visit the website. You can get all settled there. If you are part of a theater, 3 or more people, we do have a little discounted package option that you can do. We also have day passes, so if you can only come on any particular day, we have that available as well. And you can just show up too. You don't have to register before. If you decide, if you got the time, Saturday, like, hey, I want to go check out the festival, come on up and we'll get you sorted.
Yeah, I would also point out that it's hot as hell down here in the Denver area, if that's where you are, and going up to Evergreen is definitely a gain of few
It'll be a nice temperature break for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, Brad, anything else that you wanted to mention while we're here?
No, I think, just again, the festival is just such a wonderful, it's a wonderful coming together of people. And I know that I've made lifelong friendships, and had many really wonderful networking opportunities by being part of the festival. And I will say that one of my favorite memories of the festival was many, many years ago when we used to do a thing called the All-State Company, and we'd invite award winners back to work on pieces. And there was a wonderful piece written by Alex Miller that I will remember forever. It was just so much fun.
Oh,
it was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called The Adjudicators, and it was basically a spoof on the whole process, and those were kind of like two kind of mean adjudicators. So I was really fortunate to get involved. Right around the time I started doing shows at the Backstage back in the 90s was when Wendy was just like, we got to do this. And Wendy was also super competitive, and she brought a couple of maybe lighter weight shows to it. And then when she saw like the more serious plays seemed to be advancing more, she's like, we're going to do the JB, which is this Archibald McLeish play that's just like really, really heavy material. And so we did. We won at state, and then we went on to regional in Twin Falls, Idaho. And we brought not only JB, but we brought the whole cast of A Few Good Men as a kind of side project, which was like, I think there was like 16 people in the cast. And so brought that and did that up there. And then we went to the national competition in Michigan. And then from there, we did get an invitation to go to a theater festival in Switzerland. So we went kind of the whole gamut that year back in 97, 98. And it's hard to even recount just how much fun that was to do all that, and a great time. So I have a very special place in my heart for CCTC. It got me to Europe for the first time. So maybe not everyone's experience, but that was mine. So looking forward to going up and checking it out. So Brad Moore and Brian Dowling, thanks so much for being on OnStage Colorado Podcast. Best of luck with the festival, and I will see you up there.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much to Brad and Brian for updating us on all things Colorado Theater, Colorado Community Theater Coalition. Next week, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have someone from Historic Elitch Theater, Roberta Hamilton Griggs, to talk about the exciting new chapter in that theater's long life. And we're going to have, I'm not sure it'll be next week or maybe the week after, that we'll have an interview with Maria Rainston from Colorado Mesa to talk about their amazing new space as well. So stick around for that. Please subscribe to the OnStage Colorado podcast wherever you get your audio stuff, and let other theater lovers in your life know about us. And check out all the reviews, news, other podcast episodes, and our full statewide theater calendar on the website at onstagecolorado.com.
As always, we so appreciate you tuning into the podcast each week. It means so much that you make us a part of your day. Please feel free to share us with other theater lovers in your life to help us grow the theater listeners of the OnStage Colorado podcast. And please be sure to rate the show wherever you are listening right now, whether that be Spotify, Apple Music, or some other streaming service that I am not aware of. Please do, and if you rate it, we might read it out on the show.
Cool. Yeah, I've been noticing the audience has been growing slowly but steadily. So, podcasts, there's a lot of competition out there for our ears. So we appreciate those who have subscribed and that listen regularly for sure. And we'll be coming up on our 100th episode before too long. So we'll be celebrating that. I know it's a lot.
Go us. Go
right.
You, really. I mean, you've been here for all 100.
Yeah, well, it's just, you've definitely really upped the games. It's a lot more fun having a co-host. So, all right. Well, thanks so much for listening. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca, and we'll see you at the show.
Woohoo!